Some of the biggest UFC fighters are among the wealthiest athletes due to the UFC's escalating popularity and the huge prize money for competitions. To find out who is the greatest earner, ignoring all other sources of money, let's look at the UFC lifetime salaries of some of the world's best fighters. 12th on the list is Brock Lesnar. Although you might be familiar with Brock from the UFC, you might know him even more from his time in WWE. This man has accomplished everything, including playing football at the Bismarck State College and the University of Minnesota. He began wrestling for fun. He joined WWE in 2000 after his success, and in 2002, he won the WWE Championship. Brock Lesnar started competing in MMA in 2006 and defeated Min Soo Kim in his debut match, earning him a spot in the UFC for the following year. Lesnar has only returned to the UFC once to win the championship, having previously retired from the sport twice due to a severe illness. He is the only fighter to simultaneously hold the UFC and WWE championships. He's 12th on the list, earning over $5 million. In 11th, Vito Belfort. Belfort, a Brazilian mixed martial artist known for his knockout ability, fights in the UFC's heavyweight and middleweight divisions, is next up on the list. In addition to being the former UFC light heavyweight champion and Cage Rage World Light Heavyweight champion, he won the UFC 12 heavyweight tournament. With a staggering 14 victories, Vito Belfort is a machine and is tied for the most victories in UFC history. And even more impressively, he was only 19 years old when he earned his first UFC triumph, making him the competition's youngest victor. He ranks 11th on our list with $5.46 million in projected earnings for that year. Coming in at 10th, Donald Cerrone. Donald Cerrone, also known as Cowboy, competes in the welterweight category of the Ultimate Fighting Championship at the moment. He currently holds 2 UFC records, the most victories, 22 victories, and finishes, 16 finishes, respectively, in the organization's history. Cowboy is from Denver, Colorado, and used to get into fights a lot when he was younger. Cowboy, a WEC veteran with a number of victories, switched to the UFC in 2010 once WEC and the UFC amalgamated. He won Fight of the Night recognition for his debut match with the UFC. Later, in 2016, he stepped up to welterweight, where he earned a number of further Performance of the Night bonuses, with $6.16 million in earnings. Coming in 9th, Daniel Cormier. Daniel Cormier is an expert who currently works for the UFC as a commentator and analyst. He's retired from MMA, but before he did, he dominated every division he competed in and gave some of the other fighters the opportunity to win the belts. He was the former light heavyweight and heavyweight champion of the UFC. Additionally, he is only the second fighter in UFC history to simultaneously hold and defend 2 belts in 2 different weight divisions. Cormier was also a 6-time member of the U.S. World or Olympic team and a medal winner. He is clearly the only fighter to have taken home a world championship belt in each promotion he competed in. And in terms of UFC earnings, he ranks 9th on our list after earning $5.73 million. In the 8th spot, Brazilian fighter Junior Dos Santos. Another Brazilian professional fighter is Junior Dos Santos. He began practicing capoeira as a teenager before coming into contact with martial arts when he was 21 years old. He was raised by a single mother. When he turned pro at age 22, he won 6 of his first 7 significant matches. He debuted in the UFC in 2008 at UFC 90 as an underdog, but he defeated Fabricio Verdum in just 1 minute 20 seconds, earning him Knockout of the Year. After numerous knockout victories at UFC 95, 103, and 108, Dos Santos began to establish a reputation as a serious competitor. Brock Lesnar was supposed to face Dos Santos in a head-to-head match in 2011, but Lesnar withdrew due to diverticulitis. Dos Santos was removed from the UFC in March 2021 following a string of defeats and major health problems, yet he still ranks 8th on our list with $5.97 million earned in 2020. 7th on the list is none other than Jon Jones. Jon Jones, a 2-time UFC light heavyweight champion, held the championship from 2011 to 2015 and again from 2018 until 2020. He is now ranked 1st in the UFC men's pound-for-pound rankings as of March 2021. He also became the UFC's youngest champion when he was just 23 years old. In the heavyweight class, he also holds the record for the most championship defenses, victories, and winning streaks. Many people believe that Jon Jones is the best fighter in the world pound for pound. His lone defeat was a contentious setback against Matt Hamill is a great example for that argument. Not only does Matt Hamill contest this defeat, but so does UFC President Dana White. However, this isn't the only scandal he's been associated with. Because of disciplinary activities, he has had his title taken away 3 times, but he still ranks 7th in terms of earnings with $7.03 million earned. Landing almost within the top 5, in the 6th spot is Georges St-Pierre. Georges St-Pierre, who is regarded as one of the best MMA fighters, held belts in the UFC's welterweight and middleweight divisions. Even Rogers Sportsnet awarded him Canadian Athlete of the Year in 2008, 2009, and 2010. He became the 4th fighter ever in UFC history to to hold multiple divisional titles in 2017. Given his impressive track record within UFC, he has made $7.04 million in 2021, ranking 6th among all earners. Taking the 5th spot is Michael Bisping. After leaving MMA, Michael Bisping now works as an English sports pundit, actor, and commentator. He fought in the UFC's middleweight and light heavyweight weight classes. He joined the UFC in 2004 and has held the titles of both the UFC middleweight and Cage Rage light heavyweight. He is the first fighter from the United Kingdom to take part in a UFC main event. After UFC 199, he won the UFC championship title, making history as the first fighter from the United Kingdom to do so. The UFC inducted Michael Bisping into the UFC Hall of Fame in July 2019. He will earn $7.14 million as the 5th highest paid fighter in 2020, making him almost unbeatable at this point. Next up, a crowd favorite, Anderson Silva. Silva, a UFC Octagon legend, enters in at the 4th spot. Now, with the longest title reign in UFC history, after holding the middleweight championship for a record 2,457 days, Silva was one of the sport's biggest stars in the early 2000s. However, he didn't start making staggering sums of money until after he lost his middleweight title. From that point on, he earned £450,000 in appearance fees alone up until his retirement. In total, he brought in around $7.6 million US. Impressive, right? Taking the 3rd spot is Andrei Arlovski. The next fighter is Andrei Arlovski, who has earned a respectable salary from his career as a fighter despite not being in his prime in recent years. The Pitbull made the majority of his outstanding money early in his fighting career, according to Way of Martial Arts, who also noted that he earned about £2.25 million, with half of that sum coming from a 2009 battle with Fedor Emelianenko. Arlovski undoubtedly received a great payout towards the end of his fighting career thanks to the legacy of his career, as he earned over £225,000 throughout his final 10 bouts. In total, Arlovski brought in $8.2 million US. Second on our list is the one and only Khabib Nurmagomedov. Many people won't be shocked to learn that Khabib Nurmagomedov's name is on this lucrative list. Since overcoming his longtime opponent McGregor in 2018, the Russian has established himself as one of the best fighters in the history of the sport, collecting an astounding 93% of his career earnings. He was paid £1.5 million for his battle with McGregor, but he had to give up £374,000 because he started a wild riot after the fight. Despite this, he swiftly recovered and won his next 2 fights against Dustin Poirier and Justin Gaethje for a whopping £4.5 million each. So overall, from the UFC, Khabib raked in almost $13 million US. Now, this is just from the UFC and doesn't mean his net worth. It really is just one part of it. Finally, taking out the list is Conor McGregor, of course. Lastly, but certainly not least, is McGregor, who has been the UFC's face in recent years. He not only comes in first place on this list, but Forbes also ranks him as the highest paid sports athlete in the world in 2021. All of the boxers who have faced the notorious one are claimed to have received their highest bout paychecks, making him the man who generates the most income for the championship. With his pay-per-view profits excluded, Way of Martial Arts believes that the £15 million represents a small portion of his eventual income. McGregor has asserted that he made a staggering £37.4 million after his match with Nurmagomedov, and an even larger £59 million following his victory over Donald Cerrone in 2020. So all up, McGregor brought home around close to $18 million US from just UFC earnings alone. And there you have it, everything you need to know about the highest paid UFC champs ever. Now, make sure to let us know your thoughts down below. And as always, thanks for watching.